Hello everyone, this is Mumbo here, welcome back, and today we're going to be taking a look at probably one of the most requested builds ever on my channel. This is the high efficiency mob farm that I built on the Hermitcraft server, and ever since I uploaded that video, I have been bombarded with requests to do a tutorial. Now more than a year has passed, I thought today is the day. I am going to show the people of YouTube how to build my mob farm so that they can hop into their survival worlds, get their building hats on, and get themselves a ton of mob drops. Now before we begin, I just want to say a few things about this design. The first one should be fairly self-explanatory, but it uses a lot of resources. Not only does it use a lot of blocks, it also uses a lot of iron, and that's not just because the entire construction is made of iron blocks. Obviously that's not necessary, but inside each one of these dispensers there is a bucket. A bucket uses 3 iron, there are 12 dispensers per layer, and there are 5 layers in total in this build. That means for all of these dispensers, you are going to need 180 iron, and that isn't accounting for any of the hoppers or any of the hoppers down below. Essentially, you need to make sure that you have enough stuff to do this, otherwise you're going to be left with a half-assed mob spawner and not a whole lot of motivation. The next few things that you need to know are sort of warnings. The first one is lag. This runs on a redstone clock, so if you go in and out of the chunks, occasionally they can be a little bit hard to load and you can get a few frames per second jitters and things. Not really a problem on a survival world, but when you're playing on a server, it can cause an unnecessarily large amount of load on the server, so just watch out for that sort of thing. The next thing that I want to say is when building this, make sure that you choose the location correctly. If you build it, say 20 blocks above the ground, you are going to be loading all of the caves underneath you, and that means that you're going to need to do a lot of lighting up. I personally like to put my mob spawners way up in the sky and then stand above them, so then you don't load any of the caves down below and you get maximum efficiency, so you should see rates a bit like these. But anyway, I think that's enough chatting. How about we take a look at how to build this thing. Once you have found yourself the perfect spot to place down your mob farm, you want to get things started by making 2 6x30 areas separated by 6 blocks. So that is 6 blocks wide, 30 blocks long, and you want 6 blocks in between them. They should be lined up and they should be made of spawnable blocks. So I don't want to see them made of glowstone or half slabs or anything like that. 6x30 area, just like this. It is very important that you get that right, so measure it out and measure it again. But next up, you want to go 2 blocks from the end, place a block right here, and a dispenser facing inwards with a recognizable block on top of that. So it has to be different from any of the other blocks that you're using. That's just so you can tell whereabouts the dispensers are located. But next up, you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks along, place a dispenser with your recognizable block, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 with your dispenser, and then the recognizable block, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4 with your dispenser, and then your block on top of that. And you want to repeat that 6 times over, so you will be placing the dispensers 6 times until you reach this end where you should be left with 2 blocks at the end. If you're not left with 2 blocks, then you've measured it out incorrectly. So you should end up with something that looks a little bit like this. You've got 2 blocks at the end, and then 4 blocks between all of the dispensers, and another 2 blocks at the end. And you want to make sure that you do that exactly the same on the other side. Make sure that all of your measurements are exact, and everything looks as it does in this video right now. But next up, you want to line yourselves up with the dispenser and place 2 blocks out like this, and then blocks either side just like that to create a sort of triangle shape, and then do the same thing in front of this dispenser. So 2 blocks, then blocks there, 2 blocks in line with the dispenser, and then blocks on either side of it, and basically make these little spikes that pop out from the edge of the platform. And you are going to want to do the same thing on the other side. So it's 2 blocks out like this, blocks on either side, 2 blocks out like this, blocks on either side, and you should see that when you place them out, you'll be left with 2 blocks in between each one of the spikes. They should line up with one another in the build. If they don't, once again, you have built it incorrectly, so I would suggest starting over. Now that you have all of your teeth in place, it should end up looking like this. The next thing that I would suggest doing is place the walls around your platform. So you want them to go all the way across like this, right the way around the build, and you want them to be 2 blocks high, just like that. And you want it to cover every single one of the walls. So not just this one, you need to do this side, that side over there, and also that side over there. Every part of it should have a 2 block wall going right the way around, and that will stop any of the light coming in. Also, you want to head over here and make sure that all of this is also covered, so it should be in line completely with that floor level. Now that you've got your walls around the platform, next up you want to do a little bit of redstone work, but the first thing that I will say is make sure that you don't have any of your water buckets inside the dispensers just yet. You are going to cause yourself a lot of problems if you place in the water early, because there's just going to be water everywhere and it's going to make a massive mess. So what I would suggest doing is just placing your block down next to this one, and then blocks all the way across like this up until you reach the third dispenser. Then place a block here, skip 2 blocks, and continue on. So just all of your blocks in like this, going all the way across up until you reach the last dispenser, and then you want to place redstone dust on top of all of these blocks. Now the reason that we've got this 2 wide gap is because we are making way for the torch tower that has to go up the middle. So just redstone dust going all the way across like this, and then you want to repeat that on the other side. So let's head over to this dispenser here, start things off by placing down the blocks, carry them out all the way into the third dispenser, 1 block, 2 wide gap, and then carry out the blocks once again, and once again place down all of the redstone. I don't really know if this is going to be good news or bad news, but what you now have to do is repeat that entire process 4 times more. If you want to have yourself 5 platforms like this one over here, which is exactly the same as the one that I've got on the Hermitcraft server, then you are going to need to do all of this 4 more times, stack them directly on top of one another. So as you can see, the next platform starts immediately after this wall finishes, and that will give you pretty much the entire structure of your mob farm. Honestly, it's quite easy. Just stick some music on and get building. So this is what you should end up with. This is what your build should be looking like right now. Now obviously I just use MC Edit, copy and pasted the blocks upwards, and then I'm done. So I'm fresh as a daisy. Whereas you have probably been working on this for the past hour and a half, and you might not be feeling so hot. So you will be happy to know that the hard part is now over. We just have to do a little bit of the redstone stuff. So the first thing you need to do is go right the way down to your bottom layer and go 2 blocks down like this, and then you want to place a block right down there and continue those blocks all the way along like this right until you get to the end here. So you want to line it up with the edge of the mob spawner. Then you want to place a sticky piston with a block on top, and then 6 blocks along just like that with redstone dust on top of all of those there. A repeater set to 4 ticks running out from that piston, and then redstone dust running all the way along just like this right up until the end of the line. Then you want to repeat the same thing on the other side, and that is how you do it. This is where things begin to get a little bit complicated, so I've got a little bit of explaining to do here. But what you want to do is you want to place a block like this and a redstone torch on the side. And what we're going to do is we're going to transmit a redstone signal vertically throughout all of the lines of redstone. But what we need to make sure of is that both of the redstone lines match up with one another. So one of them will be off and one of them will be on by default, and we need to fix that. So you can see right here, one of them is on and one of them is off. So what you have to do is the one that is on, you take out the first piece of redstone dust and you place a redstone torch right there, and you can see that both of them have now turned off. Then you want to continue the line upwards, and you will see right here that one of them is on and one of them is off. So you just want to take out this one and place down a redstone torch. Basically, the side that has the block, you need to place a redstone torch on the side of that one. Quite complicated. It's fairly tough to explain, but as you can see here, if we go up, we have this side is on, this side is off. So we just need to take out this redstone dust and place a torch on the side of that block, and then let's repeat it one more time just so you can get it right into your heads. So that is redstone torch there, and it's the side with the block always needs a redstone torch on the side of that one there. So that should explain it. Let's do it one more time. Redstone torch, block, and then torch. But you need the redstone torch on the side of this block here. So as you can see, both of these are off, both of these are on, both of these are off, both of those are on, and both of those are off. Each one matches up. I hope that made sense. If not, there is a world download down in the description so that you can check that out. Now for the heart and soul of the build, this is the hopper timer that is going to be controlling when all of your water fires off. So you want to fill in all of these blocks here, go to the middle 2 blocks and place 2 hoppers, one of them facing into one another, a bit like that. Then you want to grab a comparator, run it out of there, a block running into some redstone dust right here with a sticky piston and a redstone power block on its face. Then you want to repeat the same thing on the other side as comparator, block, redstone dust right there with a sticky piston running out of that one, and that will be running into this. So eventually these will both extend and they will trade the redstone block back and forth. I'm sure most of you have seen a hopper timer before. Now next up, you just want to place a block out here, a repeater running straight into a block, and that will power that redstone dust. And you want to do the same thing on the other side, so that is repeater running out from this redstone and into that redstone there. Now for the finishing touches, you want to fill in all of your dispensers with water buckets. This is quite a lengthy process and it is fairly boring, but it has to be done because otherwise obviously your farm isn't going to be working. Now one thing that I will say is watch out for mobs, because creepers are super annoying in this situation because they do like to blow up your hard work, and also make sure that you don't miss any of the dispensers, otherwise it is going to be very difficult indeed to get back into the mob spawner to work on it and get the water bucket back in there. You're going to be pushed off the edge very quickly by other water sources. Now the next thing that I'm going to say is that you want to head over to your hopper timer once all of the water is in place, because otherwise it's going to cause a few problems, and chuck in all of your items in here. Now I would suggest doing about 20 items. That seems to work fairly well. That is what I've got on the Hermitcraft server, and that has produced a large amount of mob drops for me. Last but not least, you want to put yourself a roof on top of the mob spawner. Make it so that it looks a little bit like this one, and make sure that it covers up this redstone here, because otherwise you'll get the odd mob spawning in here, and also you might want to light up the area around it just to stop any mob spawning on the outside. It's not going to drastically affect the efficiency, but it's something you don't necessarily want happening. The reason that I left the roof until last is because then when you're placing in all of your water, you're only getting a few mobs spawning instead of a huge wave if it was in complete darkness. But once you get the roof in, it goes completely pitch black, and that is when you get your full efficiency spawning. Now in this video, I'm going to be showing you the exact same system that I use on the Hermitcraft server, and that is to just place a bunch of hoppers down at the bottom that collect up all of the item drops. If you want to do some form of funnel, then it will be very simple to do. You just have to do some water streams that go across like this, and a cross like this on the other side, and then all of the mobs will drop down in the middle. But like I say, I am replicating the exact one that I have on Hermitcraft. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to go about 35 blocks down from your mob spawner, and you just want to place hoppers going all the way along like this, all running into that side so that you can run it off into a chest. So they're all connecting up to one another, so all of the items will travel along this hopper line, and you have to repeat this 6 times over. So it needs to be 6 blocks wide, the exact same as the widest point of this open section here. But we have almost reached the end. In fact, I believe we have actually reached the end there. That is the final hopper to go in. So the next thing that you want to do is just run the final hopper into this one here, and then continue on like this. And like I say, 6 blocks wide is how the platform should be. Once that is all done, there are a few bits of advice that I want to give you. The first one is light up your landing platform, otherwise you're going to get mobs spawning on here, and that isn't very good, because say you popped up there to check it out and then a creeper blows up, you're going to lose a large number of hoppers. The next thing that I would say is make sure you have adequate storage. As you can see, the chest has filled up, and so have a large number of the hoppers, which means that we have got a lot of loose items on the top. Not only are we wasting all of them, it's also causing a little bit of lag, which isn't particularly ideal, so make sure that you have a large enough storage system for all of that. But other than that, you are all complete. That is your entire mob farm done and dusted. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.